right, now we're all set to start our conversation, man. I love your shirt,
Sure.
by the way. Uh,
Oh yeah,
yeah. In fact, I just caught my elbow right here on my oh, no, on my battery pin.
nice.
Right.
Hell yeah.
So, for those who don't know who you are, man, talking to Mr. Chad Davis of the glorious Hour of 13, one of my favorite heavy metal slash doom metal bands of all time. Um, you are a multi-instrument guy. I mean, you pretty much do everything from what I understand
Yep.
on the records. And I'm just so stoked to be talking to you today, man. Thanks for being on the program.
Thanks for having me on, man. It's a cool thing. I don't really do a whole lot of don't really do a whole lot of interview type things. So if I'm pretty stoked to do it.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like one of the main reasons that I bought a ticket to Hell's Heroes was to go see you guys, man. And I was so bummed that y'all 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 didn't make it for I'm not sure what reason, but it's okay if you don't want to reveal that. But it
Man, it was a
oh,
fucking mess. It was a straight up mess, and it's one of the reasons why um Hour 13 is pretty much done for. Like every time I try and get something happening with it, something happens, and it just becomes. Yeah. We had personnel issues at the last. Well, it didn't really start at the last minute, but it was leading up to implosion. The drummer girl had uh, become a bit weird and made threats towards me and my family and shit. So I fucking nixed that real quick.
well, yeah, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, yeah. Not a whole lot of people. There was never any explanation that was posted as to why we didn't. The only one that knew about it was Christian Larson. So
Yeah.
I was the guy that put it on. So yeah, it was sad because we put a lot of work into that, and it was sounding really good. I was really stoked about what was going on, but man, yeah, it turned into a fiasco.
Yeah,
To say the
yeah.
least.
I spoke to Christian. He's a homie of mine, and he's been on the podcast before, and
Yeah,
and we were supposed to do a recap show. He just he's a busy guy, so I don't hold it against him. And
yeah.
he's always fucking booking shit, playing, recording himself. So, but yeah, man. But what I like to do is just get your story basically in a nutshell. I'm
Sure.
and I like to take it back as far as you're willing to take it, as far as your upbringing and what made you decide to start playing music, and all your influence that led you to this path.
Oh, right on. Yeah, I mean, it all started 4 years old, man. My dad, 1976, around summer of '76, gave me an eight-track player, uh, and the first four eight tracks that he gave me with this to listen to was Santana's Abraxas, Kiss's first album, Sabbath's first album, and Credence Revival. Um, and if it hadn't been for Black Sabbath and Kiss, I mean, in all honesty, I listened to the Santana eight track the most. But um, the Kiss and the Sabbath eight tracks were like the ones that I studied the most, if that makes any sense. Because like I knew, even though I love the material from Abraxas, um, and later on in life, researching Abraxas and what Abraxas is, was part of upbringing as well because of my family. But the Kiss of the Sabbath one is the one that I listen to the most. And when I turned on my fifth birthday, 1977, my mom took me to see Kiss in Charlotte, North Carolina for my birthday.
Holy shit!
Yeah, yeah. So and we were if you're facing the stage left, up on the side, about 8 or 10 rows up, so pretty close. Um, and I just at that point I was just like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
But then whenever my dad gave me an eight track later of Paranoid with Black Sabbath, and that became probably the one that I wore out the most I remember, shit, I was probably 7 years old, and I remember taking a blank tape and just recording Planet Caravan over and over and over on a 90-minute tape, just so I could play that when I was going to sleep. Um, so yeah, I mean, if it hadn't been for Kiss and Sabbath, I would probably be in a much different place. But fast forward, years after that, just growing up by my mother's, um, my aunt, my mom's sister, my aunt, she had some relatives that owned a record store, and they used to get all the Kiss Army stuff. So I amassed quite a collection in my younger years of that stuff. Was always just a massive Kiss fanatic. Um, but then they started getting more Black Sabbath stuff and a lot heavier stuff at the time. They tried to give me some Led Zeppelin records, and I gave them back. So I just fucking hate Led Zeppelin. I don't like Led Zeppelin at all. um, yeah, Jimmy Page is not one of my favorite guitar players. So, um, but yeah, I mean, it was always Kiss and Sabbath when I grew up. It was always that. And then whenever I got into middle school, my first day of seventh grade, this dude, Mike Estes, that I know was sitting in front of me. He turned around and he's like, I know you like heavy metal music. My brother got me this tape and I don't like it, so you can have it. It was fucking Slayer Hell Awaits.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And I saw the cover. I was like, well, I mean, if you don't want it, I'll take it. I don't know what it sounds like, but I'll take it.
Oh,
And then the very next day, like I listened to that tape, and the very next day, my dad was like, "Yeah, we're going to the mall." So we went to, I went to this place called Record Bar, which was like the local record shop where all the punks and metalheads worked. And they had the 12-inch of Haunting the Chapel in there, so I nabbed that. And I don't know how many copies of Haunting the Chapel I went through. Like, to me, that's pinnacle of Slayer's existence. Show No Mercy might be the greatest heavy metal record ever recorded, but to me, the three songs on Hell Awaits are the best heavy metal songs ever. Like,
oh yeah.
it's
It's hard.
fantastic. Like,
It's
yeah,
definitely hard to argue with that.
yeah, yeah. But then we got into Bathurst. My buddy Claire High, his parents owned a funeral home. His funeral home was like less than a mile from my house, so and we always hung out a lot. So we would go to we'd get dropped off at the mall, and we got turned on to Bathory, and it was fucking hell ever since then. Like you know, the Return to Darkness and Evil is fucking most evil record ever recorded. It's fucking just
I agree
fantastic.
with I agree with you. I go back to the return, like
Yeah,
it's just one of those fucking consistent albums that never lets you down.
yeah, yeah. I work at a local guitar shop around here at a guitar center, and there's these younger kids that come in, and there's one guy who's always wearing a DRI shirt, and he was asking me the other day. He's like, "What's the greatest thrash album ever?" I'm like, "Well, the greatest heavy metal album is Show No Mercy, but if you're asking me what's the most evil record on earth, it's going to be The Return by Bathory." And he's like, "Oh, well, I would have said Bonded by Blood." I'm like, that album has a song about a fish on it, so it's not really that evil. I was like, I think you need to go back and listen to the first two Bathory records. And then he came
Yeah.
in the very next day with a buddy of his getting some drum stuff. And he's like, I don't think I've ever listened to The Return, and I don't think that'll be my last time ever listening to it. And I was like, son, that record has so much history and stories behind it for me. Like that's a super important album in my life. But after that, later on in the high school years, got into the whole punk thing. Exploited fucking GBH, Discharge, one of my favorite bands of all time. I have a box of fucking Discharge stickers sitting here that I randomly bought for some reason. It's like a box of 20 stickers. I don't know. Decided to have them to put on everything. Um, but yeah, got really turned on to a lot of stuff, and I did go through the whole hair metal thing. Hanoi Rocks is one of my favorite bands. I fucking love that band so much. I think they're completely underrated and got really fucking screwed by another fucking shitty LA band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
uh, um, but a lot. There's so many different things. Like all I ever did when I was a kid was listen to music. I didn't really have friends until I got into high school. I had my one friend Claire. He was just because he was into different shit too. Everybody else, went to high school in South Caldwell High School and Granite Falls, North Carolina is one of the most fucking redneck spots ever.
Now, let me ask you one thing, because I'm glad you brought up your home state
Yeah,
of North Carolina. I just
yeah,
recently fell in love. I'm from South Louisiana, just
right.
about 3 hours from Houston in Lafayette, Louisiana.
Oh,
And,
nice.
I've been going to Waynesville, North Carolina. How
Mhm.
far did you grow up from there?
Waynesville is that's close to Silver, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, up in the mountains.
Like Maggie Valley and all that.
Yeah, yeah. So that is probably so. Silva from my house was roughly about 2 hours, and Waynesville was before. Waynesville was kind of like almost like in between Asheville and Silva. So I would say Asheville was about an hour from my house. So probably about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Waynesville is about an hour and a half from
All
my
right.
house, depending on how fast you're going. If you
Yeah.
go 10 miles over the speed limit, you'd be there in an
One
hour and a
one
half.
one of my favorite things I've ever done, and I went. It was Christmas, and I spent Christmas time in Waynesville, and I had this picturesque tree line, and I combined basically both of my favorite albums, Panzerfaust by Dark Throne, because it had the look of the trees, and I put Upon Black Wings We Die as the soundtrack for real, and I was like, dude, it's like,
Nice.
and I'm in your home state, and I mean
Yeah.
that's how much of a geek I am for Hour 13, dude.
Man, I appreciate that. Hell yeah. 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 Fucking Panzerfaust is a great album. It's my favorite Dark Throne of all time. Like,
Same,
it's
dude.
the
Same.
best thing they ever fucking recorded. I mean, all
Yeah,
their stuff is pretty great, but yeah, Panzerfaust is just his vocals on that album are just fucking hateful as shit. It's
they
fucking
are.
great.
They're just
Yeah.
so fucking aggressive
Yeah.
and so loud. I remember hearing Fenris talk about it on the commentary, and he was just like completely blown away. And the circumstances like recording that album, you have Fenris's dad dying and all
Yeah.
that. It was just like the perfect fucking storm for that masterpiece of their collection.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But yeah, yeah, Waynesville's awesome, man. Because I used to, whenever I first met Rob Cruzan from Demon Sea, he was living in Silva at that time. His dad was like the sheriff of Silva County.
Oh wow.
But I remember driving up and hanging out with him and Phil, who was one of the early guitar players from Demon Sea. This would have been 1990, the end of 1994, beginning of 1995, somewhere around there.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, Silva was awesome, man. Man, we the first time I went there, we just hiked all over the mountains of Silva, and it was like some of the most majestic mountains I've ever been in. Like it was just fucking amazing, just killer.
Yeah, the
Um,
the the scenery out there, the topography of that entire area, man. I've been to Norway a few times,
mhm.
and I can't think, aside from Utah and Washington State, I can't think of any other states that just remind me of fucking Norway. It's just so majestic in nature.
Yeah, yep. If I've never been there, but I'd like to go at some point. But I just can't imagine it being any more beautiful than the mountains of North Carolina. Like I mean, that's what I grew up in.
Yeah, yeah.
So my grandparents lived in, or my grandfather lived in Boone, North Carolina, which is where Appalachian State University is, and that's the whole middle of Blue Ridge Parkway. So that whole entire area is just it's it's home. It's nostalgic, like pure nostalgia. Like anytime I get depressed or anything, I just remember times of like going there and then just hanging out, walking those trails, and it brings a good sense of ease, I guess.
I imagine so it would. I mean, do you get to go there often?
No, I haven't. I moved out here, out to California in 2016. Moved out here from Richmond, Virginia. But I lived in North Carolina for 42 years, and then whenever I met my lady partner, moved to Richmond, sold my house in North Carolina, moved to Richmond, which Richmond's awesome too, man. Richmond's music scene is one of the best I've ever seen slash been a part of. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of great bands, man. That I mean, there's like Windhand. There's, I mean,
Yeah.
Guar, the Legends of Guar is from out there, and then you
Yeah.
um, God damn it, Inner
Yeah,
Armor as well.
yeah, in Armin's out there. You have
Yeah.
Antichrist's Machine. Those guys are super nice guys. Um, yeah, but I mean, and I came out here to California, and it's cool out here. I don't have any qualms about it out here. It's just I don't. Yeah, I've been out here almost 10 years. I don't really know if it feels like home yet.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but the mountains of North Carolina will always be home. You know, so maybe we'll go back out there at some point. But I'm not in any rush to get back out there. I'm sure it's all changed. Over the span of a couple of years, things are definitely not the same. But all my best bros are out there. So yeah.
Yeah, you spoke about how you had a small number of punk and metal friends out there, man. Well, like I mean, like just how small we're talking, like five of you guys, 10 of you guys.
Man, that whole scene out there. I mean, as far as like, if you take like the metalheads and the punk kids, and then like all the people that are into like this the stoner rock doom scene. I mean, there's a good handful. Well, at least whenever I lived there, uh, 2014 and prior. I mean, maybe 30 to 50 people.
Yeah, yeah,
But when shows would come through, like when Weed Eater would play at the Wizard Saloon, there would be from everybody driving from the different areas that were close to Hickory, North Carolina. I mean, there would easily be 100 plus people there.
yeah.
Um, Not that everybody got along, because like you would get a lot of people that would come up from Charlotte, North Carolina, and then they would come into Hickory, and then they would bring the Charlotte attitude to Hickory, and then the Hickory people would give them the Hickory attitude, and then fights would break out, and then the Charlotte kids would fucking scurry home, with their tail between their legs like they should. But yeah. um, yeah, but it was for all intents and purposes, it was a cool scene. No matter how much drama there was, it was cool, and it was cool because it was small.
Right.
Out here, like I've been to 3 shows since I lived out here since 2016.
Wow.
You know, I don't really go much because it's just it. For one, it's kind of a pain in the ass to get around in this city.
Yeah.
It's not easy to drive in the city of San Francisco. But when I first moved out here, St. Vitus and um, the Skull played, and a dude that I knew from Hickory, Lothar Keller, played in the Skull, played guitar in the Skull. So it was good to see him. I hadn't seen him in years, since he had even started playing with Eric Wagner and all those guys. But then a couple of years after that, Killing Joke played their 40th anniversary show on the 40th anniversary day at the DNA Lounge, and I had to go to that. Like Killing Joke's one of my favorite bands. Um, and then a buddy of mine invited me to go to some like doom metal show. These kids from LA called Sloth were supposed to play,
Hmm.
and something happened to one of their dudes, and they had to cancel. But the venue that we went to, it was pretty cool. It's like a it's not really a dive because it's too nice to be a dive, but it's kind of dive-ish.
Yeah.
It's deep. Beers are too expensive, but oh well.
I've only been able to venture out into the San Francisco, Oakland area. It was earlier, was it last year? For the California Death Fest. Good friends of mine, Solent Green and
Mhm.
Norwegian band Morik from Halden, Norway. They actually played their first California Death Fest. And so I could definitely agree with you that it's not easy maneuvering San Francisco traffic. I mean,
Mhm.
I had the privilege of riding around in an Uber or a Lyft driver, and I mean, I was just like, damn, man, like they got the work cut out for them over here.
Yep, yep. It is like it's 10 miles for me to drive from my work from where I live to my work, and it takes me 20 minutes. If I'm driving 10 miles into the city, it takes an hour.
Damn.
Yeah, it's so stupid, man. There's so many people here, so many people on the roads. It's wild.
So,
Like to get from here to like Amoeba Records down where Golden Gate Park is, that's kind of going around the city. So, it takes about 25 minutes to go there. That's roughly about 10 miles. But if you're going into the heart of San Francisco, it's easily an hour.
yeah,
It's crazy.
man. So I want to like get into you picking up an instrument because I mean you play every one of them
Hmm.
and you're really astute to playing every single one of them. I mean, you're like, there's no, like, you don't have, you could tell you don't have to ask anything in the studio
Mm-hmm.
as far as the, I mean, from Hour 13 and our mutual friend Annette's, y'all involvement with the Sabbathian,
Mm-hmm.
it's like everything is just so like well maintained from,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I personally love your EPs better than the polished, recordings
Oh, nice.
out of the
Yeah.
studio. I mean, I just, I feel like, my favorite release from you is, Salt the Dead, where it's like
Mm-hmm.
everything is kind of, it's all rare. It's all, the EPs, everything that you put down. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I like to talk about that. Like when did you get into actually playing an instrument, and what was the first one?
Drums started when I was 4 years old. My dad bought me a drum kit. It was like a Sears company. They're kind of like a J.C. Penney store
Yeah,
in North Carolina. But I guess because I would always, like when I was listening to music, even before I was three, I would always just beat on stuff. You know,
same.
my dad told me later, he was like, it's not like you were just beating on things because you were beating on things. You were playing rhythms. You were playing rhythms of what you heard. So he's like, I bought you a drum kit, and they bought me. I still remember it. It was a little small gold sparkle drum kit. Had these weird, like really thin mylar heads on it. It didn't last very long. Just lasted about a month. So then he had to wind up buying me a better kit. That you could actually change the heads on. Um, and then that was what kind of prompted him to give me the 8-track player so I could start listening. And once I got that drum kit, all I would do, like I would go to school and I would come home. If I had any kind of like after school things to do, then I would do those. But you know, I didn't really play with any of the kids around my area. I grew up in a place called Roadhurst, North Carolina, which is a very backwoods place. If you blink when you drive through it, you'll miss it. The most popular thing that happened in Roadhurst is that the flag that is on the moon was woven there.
Wow.
So yeah, yeah, there was a little textile place there, and they used to make flags. And the story is somebody from NASA had family that owned that plant, and they're like, "Well, hey, we'll knit the flag and we'll spin the flag and just give it to them." Gave it to them. It went up. They put it on the moon. Um, that's the only thing that ever happened there. Absolutely, other than meth labs blowing up. Lots of drugs. On a cold, dark Rhodesian night, you could hear many labs blow up. But yeah, I would get out of school, put on those 8 tracks and listen, or I would go through my dad's records and listen. Just put them on and listen. That's all I ever did. So so fast forward to when I was 9. Um, I went to my dad's office, and there was a guitar sitting behind a couch, and it was some like Les Paul, like a knockoff type thing. Um, and my dad asked me if I wanted it. I was like, yeah, of course. It looked like something that Ace Frehley played.
Absolutely.
Ace Frehley was like my hero. Then still is his best guitar player on earth. But
That explains all
um,
your lead work.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Try to be like Ace. Yeah, but then I just started like sitting down and just trying to figure out what strings did what. Like my dad taught me how to tune it, so I could keep it in tune. Um, and then just started playing guitar. And then about a month or two after that, he came home and he had a bass. Had a bass with him. He's like, "You want this?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah, but why not? It's bass guitar." So I just, from age 4 to age 9, it was all drums. From age 9 until I learned how to record myself at age 20, it was just playing them all the time. But once again, like all through grade school, all through middle school, my only best friend is Claire High. Um, and we got into everything together. We We got into Iron Maiden together. We got into Bathory together. We got into Slayer together. We got into Misfits and Samhain together. We got into all that shit. Then he wound up going to college. I stayed behind and kept doing the music thing, and then got into high school, started jamming with people. You know, Brian Weaver was a bass player I hooked up with. At this time, I was just playing drums, so always playing drums in the bands. Um, then got hooked up with some other guys from Hickory. We had a pretty popular area band, Cry No More. There's a couple of videos of us on YouTube, which are pretty great. I've posted them on my Facebook before because just seeing them is it's just blows me away. Like that was 1990. I was 20, and we were playing bars in Hickory, just having a good time. But then I wound up getting a 4-track recorder when I was age 20, and I put a tape in it, and I set up a mic in front of my drums, and I'm like, I wonder, you know.
Yeah.
So I recorded like a 1 minute drum thing, and then I like improvised the guitar part over it. Then I put an improvised bass over it, and I was like, holy fuck. So I kept on playing in bands for a little bit, probably until I was about like 21 or 22. Um, and I was getting ready to just stop and start doing my own stuff. And then me and another local punk rock guy, John, we started the old band 7 Foot Spleen, which we were kind of like, part like crust punk, mostly sludge.
Yeah.
Our shows always depended, like if we were going to play a slow set, we would eat a shit ton of mini thins. Um, if we were going to play a fast set, we would eat a shit ton of Valium. So we kind of like, whatever we were going to do, we did the opposite effect drug. But 7 Foot Spleen lasted from 94 to 98. Nobody really gave a shit about us then. We did a couple tours with Grief, played a show with Damad, Pre-Kylesa, Damad, however you say it. Um, Played a lot of good shows, a lot of good bands. Inhumanity from South Carolina. Those dudes were fucking insane. I love playing shows with them. But then that slowly dissolved, and then I realized maybe I should just do stuff my own, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and then I just started recording stuff and working on, doing like at that time it was a lot of punk stuff. Um, just really fast stuff. I was really into grindcore and noisecore, mincecore, stuff like that. So, lots of 90-minute tapes with, 500 songs on it. But I never did anything with them because it wasn't anything that I knew I was going to release and be like, oh yeah, this is fucking fantastic. I mean, it's a bunch of bullshit. But it was just
Right.
me, learning how to do it and, getting better at it. And then at one point, 2006 rolls around, and I write the riffs of Call to Satan, Grim Reality, Allow Us to Sin.
Mhm.
Um, Went through a few people. Whenever people, I would play the demos, for people and be like, "Hey, you want to jam on this?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, sure." And then they'd read the lyrics or read what my idea for the subject matter was,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Yeah, I don't really want to do that," because it was
Yeah.
extremely left hand pass type stuff.
Right.
Um, and yeah, I mean, got hooked up with Phil, which was pretty a wild occurrence. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's where it started. Age 4, drums. When I turned 9, got a guitar and a bass. Learned how to play them. Never had any lessons whatsoever. I just listened to when kids came through the neighborhood wanting to play kickball. I'm like, yeah, I got shit to do.
Yeah.
I just listened to records. That's
That's
that's all I did.
that's
It's all I ever wanted to do.
dude, it's 10 years separates us both in age, and that's exactly, you replace North Carolina for Louisiana, and I swear I had the same fucking shit going on. I didn't have any instruments, but if there was one thing that I want to do constantly, it was just music. And
Yep.
I had this little fucking Sanyo fucking cassette recorder.
Mhm.
And it's funny you mentioned Paranoid, because Paranoid was the same. It was the first fucking tape that I had, and I wore it down like nobody's fucking business.
Yep.
Like you, I didn't record so many copies of Planet Caravan, but
Mhm.
I did, like on on the self-titled,
Mm,
it was the Wall of Sleep.
yeah.
I wanted to hear Wall of Sleep over and over and over and over again.
Yep.
Because it's just, I mean, in my opinion, Black Sabbath was the best fucking blues band that ever fucking lived.
Yep. Yep.
You know?
I agree.
And
I agree.
and like, you had access to a record store that gave you the the in on Slayer
Mhm.
and Iron Maiden and all that. I was pretty reliant on older uncles.
Mhm.
I think if it wasn't for my dad's younger brothers and my older cousins, I'd probably living a different type of lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
mean, they were the ones that turned me on to everything, and
Yep.
they were like, if there was one consistent band throughout the fucking my childhood, it was Sabbath.
Yep.
And it's just so weird that we're talking about that, and Ozzy just passed away just a few days ago, and
Yep.
it's it's just crazy how fucking time just kind of has a complete you know complete circle, full circle here. Uh
Yep.
talking to one of my, I don't want to put you on the spot, but one of my musical heroes here, and
Oh man.
and and it's definitely, man, it's definitely a uh just how important that band was to not only myself but you as well. And
Mm-hmm.
and like some of the same, my dad was a big Kiss fan as well. And he turned me on to them at an early age. He had the old fucking Destroyer wall poster,
Yeah.
and I remember I was like, dude,
Nice.
I was like, where'd you get that shit? And my dad was like, at the fucking concert. I was like,
Yeah.
"What?"
Wow.
It was like 1975, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Like so my aunt's relatives had that record store as well, but we also, like in Hickory, we had this place called Music Eye. And I remember being, I don't even think I was even 10 years old yet, but I remember going in there one time and just looking at records. I think at this instance, I had bought, um, or my dad bought me Dio's Last in Line. But I remember walking past some records and I looked over and it was the cover of UK Sub's Flood of Lies. And it had like it was like the picture of like the emaciated Margaret Thatcher on the front, and at
Uh,
first I just thought it was like a zombie or something, 'cause if I could lived in Rochester, North Carolina, I'd know who the fuck Margaret Thatcher was, didn't even know what the UK was. Um, but I remember later on in my teenage years when I started driving, there was another record store that was a very independent punk rock store called Selector Records. Um, and I went in there and I saw that same record again, and I was like, "Holy shit!" It's like I remember seeing this when I was a kid, so I bought it. One of my favorite punk records. I love that record so much. Going back to the Wizard Saloon, they didn't have a sound guy for a couple months, and I got to run sound for the UK subs in
oh,
that store, in that club.
wow.
And I didn't have that record anymore, but I swear to God, I talked Charlie's ear off for a good 30 minutes about, like, dude, you don't understand what kind of impact that album cover had on me when I was a kid. Like, just walking in, being some snot nosed nobody that had no idea of what anything was, and just seeing that and being like, that's great, like I don't even know what it is, and I love it.
Yeah.
Um, and then I moved to Buffalo, New York, not too long after that. I lived there for about a year or so, and fucking UK subs played again, and I remember going to that show, and I was like, "Hey, you remember me?" And they were like, "That was the best sound we ever had on that tour."
Damn.
I'm like, "Oh man, you guys are ass. That's not right." but but yeah, man, just Sabbath, the whole Ozzy thing. Like, I don't, it still hasn't like processed to me. The first Ozzy thing I ever had as a kid, well, for his solo stuff, was the picture disc of the Mr. Crowley, like the live versions of Mr. Crowley, You Said It All, and Suicide Solution. Um, my dad came home from, he went to the mall or something. I was sick. I didn't go. Um, and I was laying in bed, and he's like, "I bought you this." He's like, "I don't know what it sounds like, but I know it's the guy that sang for Black Sabbath. It's something new from him." And I remember putting it on and just being like, all right, how's he going to top this? Like this is fucking fantastic. And then Diary of a Madman came out, and I remember buying it the day it came out, and I was like, fuck. But still, like, Speak of the Devil was a total game changer for me. The video, like the Irvin Meadows video, plus the album. I bought that at Music Eye as well when it came out, and I remember listening to it, and I was looking at the back of it, and I didn't know Randy Rhoads was dead. I didn't really at that point. I didn't know the lore of all the different people. I just knew that Ozzy was the singer of Black Sabbath, and I didn't know who Lee Kerslake or Bob Daisley was, but um, I knew that the people that were on the back of the record of Speak of the Devil wasn't the people that played on the studio records.
Yeah.
I didn't know who Brad Gillis was, but I was like, Brad Gillis is the best guitar player that Ozzy Osbourne should have ever kept. Because, Randy Rhoads is great and everything, and I'll probably get a shit ton of heat for this, but Brad Gillis had 2 days to learn all those tunes
Yeah.
and completely fucking wiped that stage full of every guitar player that's ever been in any of his bands, hands down.
Yeah.
I fucking absolutely despise Night Ranger. Maybe one or two good songs, I don't know, but man, I understand now why Brad Gillis didn't stay because older now can hear the interviews and understand it. Ozzy was fucking going crazy at that time.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But man, I remember just listening to Speak of the Devil, being confused as to why Ozzy was just playing only Black Sabbath songs, but just listening to it and being like, this is blasphemy again, but like the guitar player from Black Sabbath didn't play this song like this, but this is fucking way better. Like this is fucking way cooler. It's just heavy,
Yeah.
Now yeah, Tony Iommi is one of my favorite guitar players of all time, but just something about what Brad Gillis had to endure
They
playing
just,
those tunes
yeah,
was
just two different skill sets,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, and then the whole Kiss thing, like Ace Frehley has always been my favorite guitar player, just for the simple fact that like he doesn't play like anybody and nobody plays like him.
No,
And
it's
like, it's so funny working at Guitar Center, just hearing like walking around and listening to people talk, and it's generally 95% of the time, anytime there's a Kiss song on, somebody's like, man, fucking Ace Frehley's such a hack guitar player.
what?
And I just think to myself, I'm like, you fuckers fucking play that shit. Like, sure, he's not flashy. He's not Steve Vai. He's not fucking Randy Rhoads. He's not Jimmy Page. Because, if Robert Johnson didn't exist, Jimmy Page wouldn't exist.
You're exactly right on that. I'm glad somebody fucking said it finally.
Yeah. But like, I just don't understand how people can listen to Ace Frehley solos and be like, this guy sucks. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, he doesn't, he will tell you all of his influences, which are mostly blues guys,
Yeah.
but his solos do not sound like blues solos. They don't sound like heavy metal solos. They just sound like fucking rock and roll.
Mhm.
But Ace Frehley's whole persona, that whole thing. Peter Criss too. Peter Criss was one of my favorite drummers whenever I was growing up. Before I heard Tommy Lee, the first Motley Crue album was an epiphany to me. That made me want to be like a better drummer.
Yeah.
Um, and Hell Awaits too. Like whenever I first heard that tape, even before the day after getting Haunting the Chapel, but the song At Dawn They Sleep. That's the very first song I ever learned how to play double bass to. You know, um, I never really understood the concept of it, but then whenever I heard that song, I was like, "Hey, it sounds like he's running."
Yeah.
Not super fast running, but just running. So I just sat down behind my drums, had the tape in my headphones, and it's like how trying to get that tempo, and finally I got it, and I started playing the beat. I was like, holy shit, I just learned how to play double bass. Um, yeah, and then getting Motley Crue album, fucking Too Fast for Love. I learned that album on the drums, fucking the back of my hand, the front of my hand, like learned it all, and I'm like, I'm gonna be fucking better, Tommy Lee.
Uh, and you
And
are.
I was, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I
I
mean,
can't play. I don't know if I can play upside down or not, but
well, I mean,
I'd
you
probably
always
probably
learn
throw up
how.
first. Yeah, I'd probably throw
But
up first, but
it's I mean for it there's so many people that I've interviewed on this podcast like over 100 episodes in now, and I probably count on my hand how many people bring up Motley Crue as an influence.
mm,
And I don't know if there's some type of stigma of like wanting to cite them as an influence or not. Or I don't know people,
mm,
but for me, I mean, dude, like Livewire was like still is one of my favorite fucking songs, and that's still in the fucking playlist. Like
yep,
it's in there, and
yep,
dude, well, I guess for people younger than us who
mm,
you know who don't know about Tommy Lee. I mean, he has the definitive style of playing. Not the most technical at times. I mean,
mm.
just check out the drum fills for Livewire. You know?
Yep. Yep, I remember the first time I saw uh, in Hickory, North Carolina. We used to have Channel 14 was the Hickory TV station, and they used to have this program called MV3, which was kind of like an MTV ripoff. But it was like a 30-minute program. They'd show music videos, and I remember doing my homework one day, just had it playing in the background, and the video for fucking Livewire came on, and I just remember I heard that riff, and I looked up, and I was like, who's that fucking Eddie Munster looking fucker playing guitar? What is that? What is that guy? Or is that a girl? What? Who is that?
Yeah, yeah,
And it just kicked in, and then I saw all the skulls, and then I saw the pentagrams, and I saw the upside down cross on Nikki Sixx's neck, and I was just like, what the fuck is this?
yeah,
So I remember just sitting there and I watched the whole entire thing, and the next time that we went to Hickory to Music Guy, I walked in. I'm like, I would just remember looking at the guy. He's like, "What can I help you find?" I was like, "Motley Crue," and he took me Too Fast for Love, and I remember flipping it over and seeing Livewire, the very first song, and I looked at my dad, and he's like, "Why has it got a picture of a guy's dick on the front?" I'm like, "Well, I think that's just his waist, but I don't think it's his actual dick, Dad." And then he flipped it over, and he's like, "Who are these fucking trannies?" I'm like, I don't. I think it's just their image. I think they're all guys. My dad was a piece of work. I swear to God, I
he
love him to
sounds
death.
like one cool motherfucker.
He was a fucking nutcase. But yeah, he bought it, and he absolutely did not like that band at all. I think he didn't like them just for the simple fact of what they look like,
Yeah, yeah.
or it could have been for the simple fact of how many times a day I would play that record, just
Right.
over and over and over. Like just, I remember putting when Halloween would come around, just getting skulls from the Halloween shops and just sitting around my room. And he's like, "Son, there's something wrong with you." I'm like, "Well, you know what I listen to." And he's like, "Well, yeah, as long as that's not your identity." And I'm like, I'm like 8 years old. I don't know what I don't think I have one yet. I don't know if anything, it's going to be all the shit that you got me into.
Yeah,
But I will also credit him with getting me into Tangerine Dream as well, because
mm,
going through his records, 7 years old, was flipping through his records, and he had a copy of Rubicon.
yeah,
And because I do that Insights project, it's all like super psychedelic uh, electronic music. Uh, and that whole project just came about as like a tribute to my dad. My dad's been dead for 3 years,
mhm,
or 30 years. He's been dead for a long time. Um, and that's one of the main reasons why I still have never really stopped doing what I'm doing. And I've definitely slowed down because I'm getting older. It's harder for me to do a lot of stuff. But the whole reason why I still do this music shit is because my parents, they never told me if I could do anything else. So
yeah,
all of this is still for them. But I remember I remember putting that record on because I was like, well, it's just like a little water droplet cover, splashing in Tangerine Dream, Rubicon. And I remember putting it on and just being like, I don't know what is making these sounds, but it's fucking really cool. And I remember, thinking to myself, it's like this album only has two songs, but it's one song per side. Like, what kind of band would do an 18-minute song?
yeah,
But then I didn't realize that they weren't really tunes; they were just movements of different parts. And that really changed my outlook too. Like my dad had a very eclectic um, music taste. He was definitely more into acid rock type stuff when he was younger. As I got older, when I was born and all through my early days before I was a teenager, he was mostly like 50s and 60s music. That's what he listened to. But occasionally he would put on like Black Sabbath or he'd put on Deep Purple, Creedence, something like that. Um, so he was definitely a very heavy hitter in the cutting of my chops
Yeah.
for what I do. So um, but yeah, man.
As far as your dad's influence and the things that he gave you as far as the instruments are concerned, man, I think yeah, you're doing him and both your parents a complete service by continuing doing the music, playing the music that you do and recording everything.
Yes.
Because I haven't stopped listening to your to Hour of 13 um and I just recently found out about the Sabbathian
Mhm.
through our mutual friend Annette, who says hello by the way. Uh
Yeah. Hello.
and as of recently, and it's just yeah, I'm just surprised but not surprised learning about all the different music that got you here to this point because you have a very broad palette music taste like I
Mhm.
do, and it seems that your music in Hour 13 is it's always typecasted into doom or heavy metal or something like that. And yeah, there's some reasoning behind that, but I just think like there's more to it because like when I heard like my favorite song by you that I mentioned on top of the podcast recording, Upon Black Wings We Die, it's
Mhm.
like I couldn't put I put it in a specific genre, and I refuse to
Right.
because
Right.
it's like one of the most beautiful tributes to a friend I've ever
Mhm.
heard recorded. And
Nice.
I was telling a friend of mine that whenever I discovered Hour 13 and discovered that song, I had this friend of mine, Rob, and
Mhm.
I told Rob, I was like, look, you're into fucking heavy music, metal. You need to check this band out. And sadly, I don't know if he ever did or not, because usually when I
Mhm.
give him a recommendation, he comes back, he's like, oh, dude, that shit fucking, it slapped or it fucking had some hit to it or whatever. And
Mhm.
he passed away shortly after I told him about it.
Oh,
It's just a weird fucking coincidence how, that song that you wrote and me telling Rob about it and his passing. It's that song stays with me, man. Like I got to listen to it every day, and
nice.
the entire album's the discography, dude, is just something that I think all people should know about. Like
Right on.
that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it.
Nice. Yeah, Hour 13 was a big part of my life, and I think because of all the strife that Phil and I had, like I love that guy to death, and I hate that things went south many times, because after the first album we left because I had a project that some people didn't really one didn't understand, and two, kind of polarized a bit of stuff to make him quit, but then he came back for the Ritualist, and then he was there for 333, and then he left again. Um, I really hated that we couldn't deal with each other. I guess because I was very set in ways with the music and the idea of what Hour 13 was, and he was more into the theatrics rather than the seriousness of it. Like because to me the subject matter of Hour 13 is a serious thing for me. Like I've always, even from a young age, like another thing that my dad gave to me. My dad was a 32nd degree Mason.
Okay.
My grandfather was a 33rd degree Grand Magus for friggin' 50 years.
Wow.
So the whole idea of like secret societies, like I've got a bunch of my dad's Masonic books that I probably shouldn't have, maybe, because I don't think they're not for me, and they have a whole lot of insight to what all that stuff was about, which they were pretty interesting read. Um, but the whole idea of like the esoterics, my parents never really. It kind of freaked my mom out a little bit, but my dad was really more against me hearing profanity stuff. Like I remember buying "Give Me Convenience or Give Me Death" by Dead Kennedys, and I had it. I was looking at it, and he's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "It's punk band Dead Kennedys." He's like, "What name's kind of mean?" I'm like, "Not really." I'm like, "The song titles are pretty funny." And he turned around and he saw the song "Too Drunk to Fuck." Well, that record came with a booklet that had the lyrics in a page. He tore that out, and then he took a knife and he scratched the grooves of Too Drunk to Fuck Out, so I couldn't hear it.
Oh, fuck.
But this is the same guy that one year for Christmas bought me Witchfinder General's Friends of Hell, Possessed Seven Churches, and a third record that I can't remember, but he bought me those three records for Christmas.
Did he not realize what those are about?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like the whole satanic thing didn't bother him because he probably thought it was just more of like a phase, or he's more like, hey, I'm a Mason. We're not exactly the cleanest people either. You know what I mean? So, um, but I think it was more the profanities that he didn't want me to be privy to, which I don't really understand. But I mean, it's okay to buy me an album that's got boobs on the front,
Yeah,
that says
yeah,
Friends of Hell on the front.
yeah.
Oh, it was fucking Venom's Possessed.
Oh, there
Because
you
I
go.
had the kids, with the 666 on the neck. So he bought me those three albums for Christmas one year. And it always used to just baffle me. I'm like, it's like I asked him one time, I was like, you don't mind me having shirts that have upside down crosses on it, or you don't mind me having records that mention Satan or anything like that. But anytime it comes to any kind of swear word, like the word fuck or anything, well, it's not morally acceptable. And I'm like, so there's morals in satanic imagery, but there's not morals in potty mouth language, you know.
Yeah,
And he's like, just don't fucking question me, pretty much. So I'm
yeah,
like, all
yeah.
right, man, whatever. So I just let it go, but just funny shit. But
Well, I'm
um,
glad you bring up, the difference between you and Phil as far as the idea of Hour 13. And
mhm.
I like to get it, straight from you, the founder of that band. What does Hour 13 mean to you? Like what is the I guess the core of the band?
um, but the Hour 13 name came from City of the Dead.
Right.
Uh, she's trying to stab this girl, and Christopher Lee's, no, you must wait till the Hour 13. And I remember seeing that movie a long time ago when I was a kid, younger, 13, 14, somewhere around there. I don't remember. And I'm like, that that name always stuck with me. And I remember writing it down and putting it on sheets and just, putting it away. And then whenever I first got into the experimental music scene, um, and like dark ambient music and stuff, I had Hour 13 was Hour 13 Productions. I put out like a subclinic demo on that, and I put out a compilation double cassette that had like subclinic Profane Grace, which was a thing that me and Rob worked on, but that was before I joined Demon Sea and Profane Grace. But and a bunch of people around my area that were doing noise type stuff. Um, and I just remember like after that got started, um, people started putting out the subclinic stuff for me, so I didn't have to worry about it. So I just shelved the Hour 13 name again, and I knew that it was going to come up again at some point. Fast forward to 2000, the end of 2006. December 2006 is whenever I wrote Call to Satan, Allowance to Sin, Grim Reality. Um, and this guy, Thomas Bean, who is no longer with us, one of the guys that wanted to play bass on the stuff, he actually helped me. Well, Dave Easter, who was the Live Hour 13 drummer for a good bit. He was helping me work these tunes out one day, and Thomas came over and was helping me work out some bass tracks, stuff like this, some bass parts. Um, and he's like, when did you write these songs? And I was like, last night. He's like, what, around the midnight hour? And I was like, wait a minute. And I looked at Dave. I was like, and I looked at Thomas. Like Hour 13. Like this is what this music needs to be. Like this
Right.
this is what this is. Like it's come fucking full circle now. Now I know what to use that name for. Um, so Thomas bailed out because he was a very Christian person. Didn't want to have anything to do with like satanic lyrics or whatnot. Um, and then I remember writing those tunes. And another one of the most like the weirdest thing, the whole way Phil came into this. I was playing in a band called U.S. Christmas. We were on Neurosis's label for a hot minute. Uh, a guy had, I don't know how Chris came into the picture, but one of the first times I met Chris, we were doing some promo photos for the inside of the U.S. Christmas Eat the Low Dogs album. And Chris was with us. He was riding around with us in the van. My wife at the time was taking the photos. And I had a CD of, because those three songs got recorded in the studio before the other five did.
Mhm.
They were about a year apart. Um, and I was playing, we were listening to this stuff in there. And Matt, one of the synth guy, guitar player of US Christmas, who we were listening to, he's like, man, these fucking tunes are so good. And Chris is like, I know a guy that used to live in Texas whenever I was there. He was a friend of mine when I was in Scum of the Earth. His name's Phil Swanson. His voice would be fucking absolutely perfect for this music because he's really into like new wave of British heavy metal, like early heavy metal stuff,
Yeah.
and doom stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't really even know what this music is. Like, this is just shit that I wrote. I don't know if it's doom metal or if it's heavy metal or if it's occult metal or if it's what, because nothing really has been put to it yet. Um, he's like, well, I need to get a hold of Phil. Uh, so later that night, I started a MySpace page, Hour 13. I posted those tracks, and the very next day, I got a message from Phil Swanson. He's like, "Hey man, these tunes sound really good. I can't wait to hear some vocals over top of this." And I emailed him back, or I messaged him back on MySpace, and I'm like, "Is this the same Phil Swanson that knows Chris Thomas?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah." Uh, and I was like, "Oh, Chris must have got a hold of you." And he sent me a message back. He's like, "I haven't talked to Chris in 15 years."
Oh, wow.
And I was like, "Well, it's a funny fucking thing." I'm like, "Give me your phone number because I need to call you and tell you this."
Yeah.
So he calls me and I'm like, "Dude, I was just riding around in a van with Chris Thomas last night or yesterday doing a photo shoot for a band I'm in. And he told me point blank, Phil Swanson's voice would be absolutely perfect for this." And he's like, "What the fuck?" I'm like, "Dude, all right,
Can't
this is
make this
fucking
shit up.
weird." Yeah. I'm like, "Give me your email address. I'm going to send you these right now." 2 days later, he sends me back those tunes with the vocals on it, which are the demo versions that are on Salt of Dead.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fucking amazing.
Yeah. And I was like, well, there it is. Like, I guess that's what it's going to be. Uh, but those tunes were already like, I mean, at that point they were 8 months old, and I had recorded them 8 months prior to that. Phil sends "Call to Satan" to Shadow Kingdom because he knew Tim from Shadow Kingdom. Tim was like, "I listened to 1/4 of the song, and I want to put an album out."
Damn.
So within the next week, I wrote all the other five tunes, did demos of them, sent them to Phil. A day or two later, he sent me, all the tunes back. I'm like, "Damn, you write fast." And he's like, "Well, I had these." Um, I got a little tiff because the lyrics that are on that first album were Vestal Claret lyrics from an album that he had recorded with some other guys. Simon, who I think was in another version of um, Vestal Claret or whatever. But it didn't bother me because those tunes weren't out yet. They had just been on demos. But he was like, these lyrics fit this whole idea of Hour 13 so much that I would rather use them for this than Vestal Claret. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, that's fine, whatever. I was thinking in my head, wow, he just sat down over the course of 10 days and wrote lyrics to 8 songs and put them on there, recorded them, and they're done.
Yeah.
Which, not taking anything away from him. I mean, he came up with all the phrasing and everything straight off the bat. They were all like one takes. So it fell into place, that well. So, but I just thought that was really like either one completely magical, two just totally cosmic. How it all just came together.
Yeah.
And to me, that was always like the magic of Hour 13. Like recording those records, it was never, it was never a problem. And even all the way to Black Magic Rights, like those tunes. The Ritualist was written in the span of 2 days. I wrote and recorded all of those tunes in 2 days. 333 was recorded over the span of 2 weeks because I locked myself in the studio that I recorded the first album. The first album and 333 were recorded at the same place, that church studio in Lenore, North Carolina. I had an unfortunate event with female and Hickory, just kind of crushed my soul a little bit.
Yeah.
And the guy, yeah, the guy from the studio, he's like, just come live at the studio, free of charge, just write an album.
Wow.
So that's how 333 came about. Um, but then like Black Magic Rights, that album was written in 3 days. The EPs, um, the more death rock stuff, going back to the earlier days of the Hour 13 sounds for some of those tunes as well. Um, all of those were written in a day. You know, just mostly those, like Feast of Flame was an original tune. The first two songs on the other EP were original, but there were Christian Death cover on one side, and then what was it, a Misfits and Samhain cover on the other one. So the ease of Hour 13 was always just magical for me. But the beginning of all of the hardships that came with those times, Phil quitting one time, Phil quitting a second time, Phil quitting a third time. Granted, the third time was probably my fault. I was drinking a lot, had a lot of issues, doing lots of pills. I wasn't easy to work with. I'm sure he probably said something to me and it pissed me off, and I did something and he quit and badmouthed me forever, which is fine. Fucking wigged out on Tim from Shadow Kingdom for releasing the Salt of Dead stuff. But the first time he quit Hour 13, he sent me an email stating that he gave me all the rights to everything that he would ever do for Hour 13. It's business, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, um, but I always hated the fact that Phil and I could never like reconcile and get shit straight.
Yeah.
It would have tickled me none more than to have him, do. I never asked him. I never tried to ask him, but the whole Hell's Heroes thing would have been great to have him do it. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think he lives in Texas, or maybe he lives in California now. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but was so he was in line to play Hell's Heroes with you?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
I don't think so. If he would have been anywhere, he would probably been at Hell's Heroes to try and kick my ass. Probably, I don't know.
Oh
Because
shit.
he got really upset that that Tim and I released the demos of the first Hour 13 record on Salt the Dead. Like, I guess Tim went to a Summerlands show, um, and Phil saw him, and Tim told me that he was like, I swear to God, I thought Phil was going to have a heart attack. He was so fucking mad.
Goddamn.
And he's like, man, he's like, you fucking told Chad that he had the rights to all that stuff. Oh yeah, but that was after the first album. I took all that shit back. He never asked me for it back. He never asked me for anything after that, you know.
Hmm.
So as far as I was concerned, that's those demos were before that first album. I never did anything with anything else that he did. Unlike Earache Records reissuing the fucking Ritualist, not giving me a goddamn thing for it, or him, you know. Um, Fuck Earache Records, by the way. Yeah, fucking fuck that label. Um, I don't know. I just it knowing that Hour 13 is not going to do anything else anymore. Um, the only way I think I would ever do something is if Phil and I could reconcile and
Yeah.
just cut one more record.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I don't see it happening.
well,
And
I don't.
and a lot of this, like and the Sabbathian stuff, going back to the Eric Records stuff. The Sabbathian came from the first EP, the Ritual Rites. Other than the Ritual Rites song, a bunch of those riffs, well, and Ritual Rites as well, but all three of those tunes, a lot of those riffs were for an Hour 13 album.
Okay.
But because things fell south with Earache and they wanted me to fucking give them all this money and shit, I don't. I still don't understand what the hell they were smoking. I told them, I was like, Hour 13 is dead for 5 years until this contract's done. Like I'm not going to do this. So that's where the Sabbathian came from. Sabbathian was riffs that were Hour 13 riffs that were going to be on the next record. Uh, and I'm so glad that that happened, because even though those riffs are Hour 13 esque, like that first EP really has a lot of character to it. It has a lot of originality to it, and it kind of does not sound like Hour 13, really.
No, it doesn't. It's
Uh,
something completely on its own. But
yeah.
I wanted to take a moment though to tell the uh salt of the dead, and all the unreleased material, man, like
Mm.
you providing the vocals. I mean, I pick yours. And
Oh, I appreciate that, man.
I'm not just saying that because, I'm talking to you, but
Mm.
that's my go-to. Like that and the rights of Samhain. Like
Mm.
I'm always listening to your version. I don't know. Like
Nice.
there are some things that Phil does particularly well
Mm.
with his vocals that are made for the song, but
Mm.
but those two particular songs that I just mentioned, it feels right at home with you in the vocals, dude. Like it really
Nice.
does.
Nice. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Yes. I appreciate that. I mean, I like doing them. I don't. Well, I can't really say that. I don't really like doing vocals, but you know, I think my voice is less accessible, but it has a bit more. Um, there's something a bit more like new wave of British heavy metal of ish about my voice. Because
Yes. Yeah.
you know, Phil is a great vocalist. A lot of bands that were in the new wave of British heavy metal stuff did not have great vocalists, which is where I felt more at home with. I know my voice is a lot more nasally and a lot more higher pitched. Um, there's something about Phil's voice on that first album that was fantastic. Like that
Yeah.
was like,
It is. It is.
it's really hard for me. People are always, I like that people say I'm honored that people say that they love my voice. But to me, the Pinnacle Hour 13 album has always been the first album. But I will say, uh, the tribute for McCash, that tune is probably my favorite Hour 13 tune I've ever written.
And dude, like mine too. Like it
Yeah.
really is. I mean, it's just you you over the music on that, dude. It just it you can tell that that was a friendship that you mourned and you fucking paid the best tribute that you can for your friend. And
Yep.
it definitely you can hear it. I mean, I jammed, dude. There's not a week that goes by that I'm not jamming upon Black Wings. I'm not.
Nice. Nice. I appreciate that, man. It was a sad time. I miss talking to that guy, man. It's always. It was one time we were laughing about something so hard I fucking threw up. Like it's just the comedic value that dude had, and just the sincerity, and he was a depressed guy too, man. Like we've both kind of consoled each other a lot on depression topics and stuff like that. Because going back to my parents. I mean, I was standing with my mom and my grandmother the day they died. My dad died 3 months later. So within the span of 3 months, my whole entire the bedrock of my family was gone.
Yeah.
Um, and that really fucked me up for a long time. And you know, it was nice to have a friend, a comrade that didn't really have similar things, but still had a sense of like underlying pain that never got really resolved. You know, we both for our problems tried to dumb it down with alcohol, pills,
Yeah.
drugs, whatever.
Hey,
And it just doesn't, yeah, didn't work. So
I know I'm going on 17 years sober.
nice, nice.
Thank you. In September, man. And in my sobriety is how I met my friend Rob, who, I tell you a little, quick story about him and I. Uh,
Sure.
we were born in the same town, which is just outside New Orleans, Louisiana, in Homa.
Mm-hmm.
Share the same fucking birthday, but he was just a few years older than me. And
Mm-hmm.
and that dude was like one of the first guys in a meeting room that said, "Hey man, look, you're welcome here," and just kind of just welcome me in with open arms, right? And
Sure.
then little did I know that the dude was a metalhead like I was. And whenever I'm trying to figure myself out, trying to figure my life out in the first 2 to 6 years of my sobriety, I mean, he was a guy that let me stay at his place. And he was another one that loved Ozzy, loved Kiss, loved Black Sabbath, loved all the fucking heavy hitters. And, um, and it's because he was a factor. Like his loss was a huge factor during COVID, well, just after COVID, why I started the podcast because he always said, he said, man, like, like if there's ever a guy that he knew that had his ear to the ground about underground metal, it was me. And I took that as one of the biggest compliments. And
Nice.
he was like, dude, like, he was like, maybe one day you have your own radio show or some shit.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, leave it to Rob for help me inspire doing some shit because like you and McCash, man, like that was a
Yep.
guy I leaned on. He leaned on me in some tough fucking times and all
Hmm.
that shit. So I get it, man. It just I think nothing motivates a person creatively quite like fucking loss and pain
Oh yeah.
and I could tell, dude. Like I mean, anyone could tell just about the amount of music and content that you put out. Uh,
Hmm.
you was hurting.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a wild time, and I mean, it wasn't really that much longer after that when we lost fucking Salim from the Devil's Blood.
Mhm.
That guy. The first time I remember, I found the Devil's Blood demos on MySpace as well. It's wild how MySpace used to have like all the stuff that is popular and has already kind of faded in this scene nowadays, like all originated from them. I remember first hearing these were like the first blood ceremony recordings
Oh, dude, they're so
on
good.
MySpace. I wish I still had, because they had four tunes on there. Two of them were from a live show that they did, and then two of them were like demo versions of the tunes that wound up on the first blood ceremony album. But those were like the best versions of those tunes, and I used to have them on a CD, and I can't find them. And I remember, or actually probably every year or so, I'll get a hold of Sean and be like, "Hey man, did you ever find those?" Because I would love to have a copy of those demos. But yeah, like the Devil's Blood, we I put those tunes up, and Salim was just like, "Man," he's like, "these tunes are fucking fantastic. Like you guys are total magic, And it's like, here's my band, the Devil's Blood, and he sent me a link to their MySpace page. And I remember just hearing uh, fucking Crash the Cocaine and what's the fucking what's the what's the first song on that demo of theirs? Fucking drawing a blank. Anyway, those tunes were just like really super impactful, and then we got to be really close contacts through MySpace. And he's like, "Hey, we're opening up for Pentagram in Baltimore. I'll put you on the guest list." Devil's Blood's the whole reason why I won't drink PBR anymore. um, I lost count at like 17 tall boys. Like I can't do that shit anymore. But when Salim and I first met, he has a Crimson Ghost exactly right there. He has a skull on his fucking palm, and he had Black Flag bars right here.
There you go.
And we were just like, "What the fuck, man!" Like, and like me and McCash, before McCash died, we were talking about doing something together. Before Salim died, we had already been passing ideas back and forth, and I don't cry over missed opportunities. I just mourn over memories that didn't get made. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. I feel you on that, dude. Like I really do because like there there's like just about few episodes that like like Rob and I are some friends of mine that are also motorheads that for some reason either they passed on or they're just like I don't hear from them. And I think to
Mhm.
myself, like, who would really enjoy like being a co-host on on this episode, it'd be Rob
Mhm.
or it'd be fucking, my cousin Archie who was murdered because
Oh, man.
he also had a lot to do with my fucking metal upbringing as well.
Nice.
He was actually the guy that fucking like told me about Sabbath Bloody Sabbath.
Oh
And
yeah.
because, I was young and like my dad gave me Paranoid and Archie gave me fucking Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. And
Nice.
like I can't hear any of that album without thinking about that dude, especially fucking National Acrobat where that fucking just that riff just it's just so fucking awesome. And
Yeah.
I think about how like my cousin was just like in another world I could tell that he was being taken away because he had some life issues of his own
Yeah.
that started, before he was born. And but I always see the guy just that's something that we could fucking escape our realities from by just tuning into whatever fucking we got in common.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah. I really wish. I really wish a lot of the guys that helped me cut my teeth, back in the day. I wish we were all still a lot closer. A lot of them kind of maybe distanced themselves from me because most of the people that I played with in school, were later on turned into like born again Christians and didn't really want to have much to do with me because I definitely never went that route. I It's like the older I get, the fucking crazier I get about occult stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's my life. It's my upbringing. I no gods, no masters always.
Yeah.
Quote the mighty amoebics. But you know, like my just the sheer nostalgia of everything that I was into when I was growing up, like that is what still fuels my heart. Have a 9-year old, almost 10-year old daughter. She is my entire world. Um, my life partner, Trista, she is my entire world. Below the rung on them is my entire past that shaped everything that I have. Like, you know, all the shit that we used to do. Like, like a funny story about Bathory the Return. I was telling these thrash kids that come in, and I always tell this story ever so often. But when Claire and I first got into um, Bathory, he'd bought the Return. There was a chapel in the funeral home that his family owned. We would go in there and listen to music ever so often. We went in there one time and we were listening to the Return, and his dad came in and he's like, "You guys got to get out of here. We're getting ready to have a service." Well, Claire didn't take the tape out of the tape deck. Yeah, so all these people pile in there, and the priest guy looks down and sees the tape in there and hits play. It's fucking Bathory blares out the fucking PA
That is fucking epic.
at a funeral service. Like, you know, we used to go through and like all the coffins, we'd open up the lids and the coffins, the pillows that have crosses on them, we'd fucking turn them upside down and shut the lids. So whenever his dad would open them up, all the fucking crosses on the coffin pillows are upside down. Fucking that's the shit that still makes me feel like, because I'm getting ready to turn 54. I feel like 154 to be honest, but a lot of that stuff like that all that shit was shaped what that shaped who I am. I always wanted to be a trickster, and always wanted to be, but it was also non-malicious fun as well,
Right. Yeah.
you know.
I think you and I
So,
would have been really good friends if I'd have been in that area.
oh yeah, yeah, or either you'd have been in a lot of trouble, maybe vice versa. I don't
Yeah,
know.
no
I'm
shit.
sure it probably happened. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I can't put into words like how I was exposed to everything was just so effortless, even without the invent of the internet. Like
Right.
I don't. I like that I can like go on to Metal Archives now and look up and be like, oh, this band sounds like this, but this band sounds like this. Oh, I've never heard these guys, so I look them up. But it also makes me really agitated that I can't really go to a bookstore anymore and grab a Hit Parader or Rip
Rip
magazine or
magazine.
Metalhead,
Yes.
and just be like, oh, look, here's an ad that's got, like the first time we ever heard Possess, Claire brought a Hit Parader magazine in, and he was like, hey, Hit Parader, if you clip out uh, this this page and you send $5, they'll send you this compilation called The Wild Bunch.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, why not? Let's do it. So he gave me $2.50. I got $2.50. I gave it to my mom. She gave me a $5 bill and an envelope. Cut it up, put a stamp on it, sent it out. About a month and a half later, the tape showed up at the house, and I'm like, "Hey, the tape showed up." So his mom brought him over, and we put the tape in. I bought a sealed copy. I got it sitting over here because my other one's about worn out. But man, we just was listening to that, and it was like, but it got to Burning in Hell from Possessed. And we were just like, this fucking sounds like shit, but it fucking sounds killer. What the fuck is this? Like, this
Right.
drummer guy is just going for broke.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like he knows how to play, but just listen to that goddamn guitar riff. Like, listen to those riffs. This shit's fucking evil. And then he went to record bar, got the tape of Seven Churches, and um, I was going to spend a night over at his house. Um, and he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna go out." We listened to that shit. And I swear to God, we played the first three songs off of that tape over and over and over that night. Like, just could not believe what we were hearing. Like, because we were listening to Slayer before Possessed, and then we got Possessed, and we were like, "Fuck Slayer, man! Fuck this shit! This is like this shit sounds like fucking Pointer Sisters. Like, what the fuck, you know?" Like,
Right. You're taking me back, man, because like I remember, like back in the day when it was like it was cool and it was safe to send cash in the mail.
yeah, yeah. Yep, yep. You wouldn't have to worry about fucking people ripping you off. But I mean,
Oh,
after about the first like 3 weeks, I was like, I don't think we're going to get anything, man. I don't. Maybe they just got too many orders for this shit. I mean, why are they going to prioritize some kids from fucking Rotis, North Carolina, over somebody that lives in Las Vegas, California, or
right.
Los Angeles, California? But I mean, it finally showed up, and we were just like, "Holy fucking shit!" So we, would go to the record every time we would get our allowance. We'd go to the record store, and like I'd have the Wild Bunch in my hand, and we would go and like try and find all the people that were on this compilation, find the tapes of their stuff. Found a few of them. Like I think the Agent Steel shit was like the hardest to find.
Yeah.
So I think Taken by Force was on that compilation. Um,
Did you
and
ever
we would always what's that?
go ahead. I was gonna ask you, did you ever get into Holy Terror? Well, speaking of that thrash family, I guess.
I got into them. I've never owned any of their stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but as I don't know, as the pseudo poser I might be, I have the files on my computer because I found a download on Blogspot or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I like them. It wasn't like if I had them in my hand and something else in my hand, I would probably have gone with something else. But I never did not like them.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that makes any sense, you know
I
what I
was
mean?
just yeah, I was
It's
just
just
curious.
yeah, yeah. It's just a lot of that stuff. Like I remember I remember seeing the tape for a band called Postmortem,
Mm,
and I remember getting it and just seeing it, and I'm like, man, this has got to sound like Bathory. I remember getting it. I was like, this fucking sucks, But now I love it, But it's another one of those things. Like if I would have had that Postmortem album in my hand or Holy Terror, I would have probably went with Holy Terror. You know what I mean?
right.
So but a lot of that stuff. Like I remember, I always wanted to get like everything that I could find. Um, but even as cool as those record stores were, they were still kind of limited to what they got in their distros and stuff like that. And then, with the coming of the grunge movement, like Record Bar shut down, like they tried to get on the alternative music thing. A lot of the punk rockers grew up and either became lawyers or dead. One of the two. So most everybody that worked there that had any kind of pull into what they got into the store, all those things kind of went away. Selector Records closed up, turned into a blues spot. Um, yeah, I
So
don't know, man.
so what are some of the things that are inspiring you to keep writing these tunes that have like the same aesthetic, occult, like I guess dark supernatural elements and whatnot, like books or even movies or whatever you're into, I guess.
Um, my inspiration comes like a lot of the Hour 13 stuff. Like when I would want to be inspired for riffs, I would go take a ride through the mountains. You know, um, books, books. I kind of like books on the occult. I feel like are kind of like opinions, uh, because the occult sciences I feel like are something that can't ever really be just like Christian books. Like you can't say that this shit is real and that it's factual because we don't fucking know. Like the book, the fucking Bible was written by a bunch of drunk monks. You know what I mean? that were supposedly channeling, the trifecta of God or whatever. And maybe they were, maybe there is something to it. I don't know. But it's a practice. Christian science is a funny term, but occult science is just as funny because, you know, of course, there's always a positive and a negative charge in the electrical field. Our bodies are reliant on electricity. Our world is reliant on electricity. The whole process of rational thought is based on positive and negative. So to me, like the Satanic Bible is no more. The Satanic Bible is no more comedy than the Holy Bible is. No more than Aleister Crowley's Moonchild or the Book of the Law. Or to some extent, like more, I guess, philosophical books. But I don't know, man. To me, just like my mind, like where my mind goes whenever I want to when I want to create something. That's where it comes from. I mean, sure, there might be a time that I'm listening to like Death Penalty, Witchfinder General, Death Penalty, and be like, interesting. That's a cool riff. Not that I would rip them off, but
Oh
a
yeah, I
lot of
get
this
it.
stuff in this, you know what I mean? A
I
lot of
get
this
it.
stuff in this scene is, it's influenced by other things. Um, and it's funny, man, because I remember one time when the first Hour 13 album first came out, and this is absolutely true. Never been at that point. I was never a gigantic Judas Priest fan. Loved Defenders of the Faith. Loved Screaming for Vengeance. That's all I'd really ever listened to, except for like the songs like Hellbent for Leather, um, or Head Out to the Highway and stuff like that. I had never heard Victim of Changes, but somebody was like, "Ah, yeah, that riff on Grim Reality. That's like that's straight up Victim of Changes." I'm like, I don't fucking know what that song is. Like, I don't listen. I've never listened to that tune.
Yeah.
My inspiration for that song was um, the riff that popped in my head was from a Bedimon song from Child of Darkness. It's the one that starts with that really long fucking scream.
Yeah.
You know, uh, I remember listening to that tune. We were at work, and a buddy of mine he was like, "Yeah, this is like a Pentagram adjacent band." Randy Palmer was the guitar player in this band. He was in Pentagram for a little bit. I'm like, "Yeah, put it on." And I remember that we were right in the middle of fucking dinner rush, and that scream just was like super fucking loud. And we were like, "What the fuck?" And but then the main riff kicked in, and then the riff whenever he starts singing, I was like, "Wow, man, that's a fucking catchy ass riff. Like this is a great song." And then a couple of days later, um, the same dude was over at my house. We were getting high, and I like started playing this riff, and he's like, "What is this?" I'm like, "It's a song I wrote for these three songs I'm trying to flesh out, trying to get the idea for." He's like, "Yeah, it kind of sounds like that Medemon song."
Hmm.
And I'm like, "Oh shit." He's like, "No, it doesn't. It's not that riff. It just kind of sounds like that, So that's, And I would tell people that, and they were like, "How would you hear Bedemon over fucking? How would you hear that first over Victim of Changes?" I'm like, "Hey, dude, it's my life. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
just how it happened." Um, but 9.5 times out of 10, just the inspiration for all of this stuff is either nature walks through the woods, just look like even just driving down somewhere and just looking over and seeing like a scene of something, just like a glance of something will just throw a riff in my head. Um, Generally, whenever I write these albums or these songs, I don't really listen to metal. I don't. I try to get anything that I've been listening to lately out of my head, so there are no known
Yeah.
crossing over influences into what I'm writing. Like I just sent uh, over the span of the past couple of years, I've been recording tunes here and there. Uh, some I thought about using for Hour 13. Some don't really sound like Hour 13. I just sent Annette like a group of 10 songs for the next or the next Sabbathian record.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
she had mentioned that she's working on one of the tracks that's like 8 minutes and 45
yeah,
seconds or something like that.
yeah.
And
There's a couple of those. Yeah.
yeah. And but speaking of her, like how did you manage to find, a relatively unknown singer in a net all the way in Norway? I mean, was she recommended to you or
She
you
was recommended to me by the guys from a band called Devil. I'm not sure if you remember those guys.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, Devil from Norway. Uh, those dudes were really big Hour 13 fans. We got to be really good friends. Um, wore their shirt in that in the video for Who's to Blame, and they were like, "Holy shit, you fucking blah, blah, blah." Yeah, yeah. So, but the original first singer of Sabathian was Jess from Jess and the Ancient Ones.
Okay.
Um, and I'm not really sure what happened with that. I think maybe the guys from the rest of the band from Jess and the Ancient Ones. I think she had recorded some vocals for a couple of the tunes that wound up on or that were on Ritual Rites, uh, and they were killer
Yeah.
nonetheless. They were great, but she was just all gung ho about it. Yeah, I'm going to do this. Yeah, I'm going to do this. And then one day she's like, yeah, well, I might not really have time to do this. And I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, we already got this stuff done. That's cool. I'm like, all right, fine. That's cool if you guys have stuff to do. Uh, I think maybe somebody in the band got pissed that she was going to work with uh, me because at that time, that was kind of when was that? That was after it was after 333. I don't know. I kind of feel like because like Phil knew those cats too, and I think maybe Phil probably talked shit, which is fine. I don't care. I'm not blaming anybody for this.
Yeah.
If I blame anybody for it, I blame it for myself. 'Cause once again, I have in the past not been easy to work with. Um, but she wound up quitting, so I'm like, all right, fine. Uh, but uh, I was talking to Stian one day, and he's like, I was talking to him over Facebook Messenger, and he's like, man, he's like, his tunes are really good. He's like, I think I know somebody that would be perfect for this. And so he got me and Annette in contact, and I was like, "Hey, you wanna try this?" And she's like, "Yeah, yeah." So she recorded the tunes. The lyrics were already written, so I gave her the lyrics. She recorded the vocals in her spot, sent them back to me. I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Hell yeah. And
Yeah,
again, um Retro Whites, that EP is just fucking amazing, man. Yeah,
it's
like
great.
y'all did a fucking fantastic job on that thing.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's a great album, man. I'm glad. I've I have always been super glad that it worked out that way because even though Jess's stuff was really good on those tunes, Annette's voice just transformed that music into something totally different.
Yeah.
You know,
When
something way more cryptic. Um,
whenever she sent me the link to it, like I mean, it's like I found it better than Blood Ceremony. you know,
oh,
I,
nice,
like some
nice.
that EP, I could make an argument that it's better than some of the Blood Ceremony stuff that people are in love with.
Yep. I mean, I think it's great. I mean, I would, you know, uh, those cats are really good friends of mine. Sorry, y'all, but yeah, I agree. I mean, it's good stuff. I really hate it, and that's another thing too, man. Like that whole Hell's Heroes thing and with Hour 13 thing falling through, like all that shit really fucking got me down because, not only were we gonna play Hell's Heroes, like a lot of those people I haven't seen or talked to in a long time.
Yeah.
And, for me, it wasn't so much about getting to play a big ass fest. To me, it was about going to get to see a bunch of people that I haven't seen in a long time. Like the last time I saw Blood Ceremony, they played in Asheville. They were on tour with Kyle Lessa, who Hour 13 toured with a couple of years before that. And being able to see Sean and Ollie at both, it was fantastic. Like I love those cats so much. They're great people. Um, and I know they played that fest as well. And I was really really excited to see them. And to hang out. And Sean from Mitochondrion Tithe, Canadian guy. Uh, it was his birthday weekend, and I was really looking forward to spending that time,
Yeah.
But because people can't fucking keep their feelings to themselves and cause fucking drama.
It happens, man. What can
God,
you do?
it's
But
fucking pissed me off so much, man. I was
yeah, I even yeah.
really fucking really bitter about that shit. I mean, it's just like, and that's one of the reasons why I don't, I'm really grateful for the impact that Hour 13 has had on the people that it has. Um, but it's until it feels right again, it's over.
Yeah. Well, I hope it feels right again
Over.
real soon. You
Yeah.
know, but but yeah, I remember talking to Christian about it, and we were both equally, as bummed out because we really want to see y'all guys do it, man. And I know I was really, I mean, uh, my boys in Goat Horde, they were playing, Eclipse in its entirety, so that was something
Mm.
to look forward to. I rode with them to the fest, and I was like, man, I was like, can't. I was like, I went straight to Christian. I was like, hey, when does Hour 13 hit the stage? Like, oh, dude, this is
Yeah.
but you know, all good things come to those who wait, I suppose. So
Yeah.
I'll keep waiting. Uh, but man, and I got one more question for you. I'm just like really, I'm really curious at what you're listening to now these days. Outside of I don't know if we talked about like anything beyond Bathory's black metal, but like, are there any other like the second wave of black metal bands that you're into these days?
Um, Second wave. I mean, always the earliest. Like, no matter how many people fucking harp on the guy, no matter how many memes get made about the guy, fucking Oski is one of the best albums that ever came out of that scene. I don't give a fucking shit. I don't care. Like, you can't listen to that record and you can't look at it and not just understand that he is probably the only one of the only people in that scene that fucking put his goddamn money where his mouth is. You fucking burn a church, you take a picture of it, you put it on your fucking album cover. Oski is one of the greatest things, one of the greatest exports, other than the first four Darkthrone albums that ever came out of that scene.
Yeah.
Panzerfaust, Under a Funeral Moon,
Yeah.
to me is one of the coldest records ever made.
Oh, 100%. You're not going to find any argument from this side
Yeah.
of fucking
No.
space.
Um, I mean, the early Emperor stuff, like I really did not like Anthems for the Vulcan at Dusk and Forward. I didn't care for any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Just the polished, the man bun nowadays. I don't get. I don't understand how the fuck you can play in the Night Side Eclipse in its entirety with a fucking turtleneck. It fucking drives me nuts. Like I don't know. But at least they're doing something with it. I don't know. But I mean, in a lot of um, like the more obscure shit that never really got any of the clout that the main bands did, like those fucking those mains demos, the three mains demos before they went all electronic. Um, those things are just fucking. They sound like shit and they're fucking dark as fuck. They're great. To me, that's like the epitome of what black metal is. I think a long time ago when all of that started, when it would come out, the self-titled. I remember going to a record store, Play It Again Records, Valdez, North Carolina, like one of the biggest redneck spots ever. But this dude, Dave Minch, that used to live here in San Francisco, moved out there after he was used to be in a band called Toxic Reasons. Um, he moved to take care of his dad, and he opened up a record store. That dude had every fucking thing you could ever possibly find, like all those old school fucking rags, wild rags records, bootlegs and shit.
Yeah.
He had all that stuff, all the Seraphic Decay, uh, like with the experimental stuff. He's the guy that got me into like Zero Comma, the Secret Eye of Layla, the album made with all human bones. Like that's one of my sitting right over here on my wall. It's like one of my favorite things of all time. Just absolute total ritual music. Like he got me, he turned me on to a lot of this stuff. But My buddy Robert Riopel was working there, and he's like, "Yeah, we just got this fucking weird ass CD in from a one man band from Norway. The guy said it was recorded really shittily. Like the music sucks, but the sound's pretty cool. And it was the self-titled Burzum album, you know.
Yeah.
So he put it on, and I was like, this fucking shit doesn't even make any sense. What is this, you know?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
bought it, and took it home, and was just like listening to it. And a Lost Forgotten Sad Spirit came on, and I was like, this has got to be something that's like only pertinent to this, to a certain area. Like this has to just be that. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have any idea of what it was. Uh, did fast forward a couple days. I don't remember if it was Dave or somebody gave me a flyer for Necropolis Records, and the first two things that Necropolis uh, ever produced was a Bertram Det Summon Gongvar shirt and a Bertram Oski shirt.
Mhm.
I ordered both of them. I was like, "Fuck yeah, this is fucking killer! I'm gonna have a shirt with a burnt church on the front.
Yeah.
What's going to be better for fucking redneck area that I live in? Than these people already think I'm crazy enough as it is. So I just walk around with a fucking burnt church on my shirt.
Yeah.
Then we got that, and those finally showed up after about 3 months. Like it took for fucking ever. I don't know what took so long. I think maybe he was doing like a pre-order before the days of pre-orders. Because this was still like 94, 95, somewhere around there before
Right. Right.
knew anything really about this stuff. Um, I mean, I'd already started subclinic. I was into the ritual ambient stuff before that second wave stuff. But as I got more into the black metal stuff, I started realizing that a lot of these dark ambient ritualistic bands I was listening to were the same people from
Mhm.
this movement. Because I was listening to Aghast, which was Samot and Fenris's girlfriends before ever knowing that they were the girlfriends of Dark Throne and Emperor. Um, but yeah, there was something else that Necropolis released. I think it might have been the Hades, the first Hades CD that had the lightning strikes on the front. Uh, I remember seeing that and thinking, "Oh, that's pretty cool." Then my buddy Mark came over one day and he's like, "I got this record. Uh, you got to hear it, but I want to trade you something for it." And I'm like, "All right, cool. What do you want?" And he's like, "I want your Cleanse the Bacteria album. It's a great fucking punk rock compilation. It was really hard to find back then. Now you can find it everywhere." But uh, I was like, "What is the record?" He was like, "It's from a band called Dark Throne. It's an album called Under a Funeral Moon." And I'm like, "Well, let's hear it. I've never heard it, so let's see what it is." Put it on. Didn't even get through fucking the first song. And I pulled out Cleanse the Bacteria, and I was like, "Here,
There you go.
you can have this."
Yeah.
Um, and I remember he left, and it started snowing outside. Um, and so I went. I had a bottle of like fucking Absolute Citron or something. Um, cut up some oranges, muddled it in the bottom. If I can put some of that in there, and was just sitting there listening to that record. And I was like, man, this is fucking really special stuff. Like, this is at that time I didn't like it as much as um the first Burzum album, but I knew that it had something to do with it. I still didn't understand that this was like part of some big movement.
Yeah.
Um, but then who was it my one of our other friends, Nick, came over and he's like, yeah, he's like, I found uh, this mail order, and I ordered some stuff, and he had gotten Wrath of the Tyrant demo, and he had gotten fucking Off the Lamia, A Journey in Darkness. He's like, I love this Emperor stuff, but this Off the Lamia shit sounds like fucking Black Sabbath. I don't want it.
Yeah.
That album, the Off the Lamia, A Journey in Darkness, is probably the single most heaviest Hour of 13 influence ever.
Really.
That album, like I put that on, and I was like, this is fucking nostalgia from when I was growing up, but this is the mindset of what I think about on a daily basis. Satanic depression. Like the lyrics were just like, and I didn't know that it was I didn't know about Abruptum yet. I didn't know about Dissection yet. I didn't know about Swordmaster. All
Yeah.
those guys were part of those bands. Didn't know anything about those, but I just remember like being this still has to be adjacent to this other stuff because I knew that they were a Swedish band because being part of the like in the death metal stuff, I saw that it was recorded by Dan Swano. It was released on Unisound, so I already knew it was like a Swedish band. And then knowing that these guys in Norway were doing this other stuff, it's like okay, this I mean that kind of makes sense. Um, Dude, you talk about something that I have owned easily 10 copies of that album over my entire life because I will listen to I'll have a disc and I'll play it till it wears out. I'll fucking I've got a vinyl of it that I can't play because the fucking needle has eaten the groove so much it sounds like shit.
Yeah.
But that album to me I think is probably one of the most I mean because if you were to take Phil's voice off of a lot of those tunes and you put somebody like fucking Nodvect singing like that over this, it's what it's going to sound like.
Yeah.
Um, there's a couple of those tunes that I sent Annette that are songs that were inspired from that sound. Like that's it's when people hear it, because she it was funny she was talking about maybe trying some more aggressive style vocals on some of this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I mean that's what I had in mind when I wrote a lot of these tunes. So, but I can't sing like that. I don't have that kind of voice. So, it's one of the reasons why I never did anything like that. But even Tony Sarka had a I don't know why, but he had an Instagram account one time before he passed, and I remember hooking him up or contacting him on there and just being like, "Yo, dude, like, Off the Lamia is like the single greatest. That album is like one of the single greatest, one of my top five records of all time." Like, and he's like, it was a wild time. Like, I was pretty sad when that guy offed himself too, man. I didn't really understand that one, but I don't know. It seemed like he was way more into building whatever those little figures are that they use for like battle games and stuff like that. I'm not sure what those things are, like the little like the
Warhammer, I
little
believe it is.
yeah, probably something like that. Like
Yeah.
he was really into doing a lot of that stuff. Um, but I don't know. I didn't realize that like the threats against his family around that time. When he was getting out of the scene when all that shit was going on, because a lot of the people were saying that the Swedish scene were the people that came over and killed Euronymous and all that crap, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
like he started getting death threats and all this stuff, which is what made him get out of the scene. But anyway, yeah, going back to all, just getting into all that stuff like that. Um, I don't know that a lot of that music was formidable in my evolution of getting into a lot of the black metal stuff, but the early stuff, like I still have like a lot of problems with that whole entire scene and the way that it blew up so fast. Never. I don't know, partner Trista sometimes calls me like a gatekeeper light. Like I don't. I can't. I can't. I'm 54 years old, man. I don't give a shit. I can't. There's a lot of the stuff nowadays that people are like, oh, it's totally inspired by 90s second wave. I'm like, this is just fucking not inspired at all. It's
Yeah. It's
just
just fucking shit.
yeah, it's just crap. Like I don't, to me, the whole idea of black metal is more than just a sound and an image. It's a life. It's a lifestyle. It's
Yeah.
if the shit doesn't encompass your life and your mind, like you can't even you can't even call it that. Like that's not what it is. Like I don't know. That's why I could never like even with the stuff that I do in Anu, like Anu is black metal to me, because that thought process like that that shit's what my head sounds like. Like those CDs are what my brain sounds like. The hour 13 stuff to me is you know I always termed it true occult doom because if I was to term it true occult black metal like I wanted to, people wouldn't understand it. No, this doesn't sound like black metal. Of course it doesn't sound like it. Nothing sounds like black metal. Black metal is not a fucking sound. Black metal is
Yeah.
here. It's
Yeah.
it's it's your fucking livelihood. It's not how many spikes you have on or what your corpse paint looks like or how many cosmetics you have in your bag before a show. Like that's
Yeah.
you know, I have
Uh,
no problems with people. I have no problems with cats that wear corpse paint. It's fine. It's definitely part of the ethos, but it's not the all encompassing eternal black thought.
right. And you nailed it because I've always maintained that same fucking philosophy about black metal. It's like you don't need the air quotes uniform of the corpse paint, the black leather, and and all that shit. Uh,
Mm,
yeah. I mean, you'll get people looking at you, and if that's your aim, but like you said, it's a life uh it's a lifestyle that requires to me a person who has been through it
mm,
and doesn't want any part of whatever's trendy and popular and all that shit. It's you know I remember I got just take it to home. My parents, my close friends who know that like I'm like real extreme in fucking my musical taste. And they never
mm,
quite understand why I always went towards black metal. It's because, dude, it's like, I could tell like motherfuckers are fucking like they're on the edge of fucking dying and like offing
mm.
themselves for whatever reason. But they
Yep.
maintain just enough uh, fortitude to stay creative and
Yep.
and get those fucking feelings out on fucking, coming through an amp or whatever.
Yep.
So that's
I
that's
agree.
that's where I'm at with it.
I agree.
And
100%. You've got to have. I don't know. A lot of people say you must have to have something off inside you to be, you know, part of that and to have that kind of thing. But to me, you best have to have something on it, because you can't you can't do something like that and then bitch to people about not being happy. I don't know, man. Like I recently saw something. It's on my Facebook, and I don't really want to call out anybody, but they've released some stuff that's like really super satanic and super like it's good for what it is, but I just remember recently something happened to somebody, and they were like, "Oh yeah, thoughts and prayers to you, bro." And I'm like, "You fuck, like you can't do that. Like you can have thoughts for somebody, but anytime you fucking what is it, satanic prayers? So you got satanic prayers to somebody who just lost their Christian brother. Is that what you're what I mean?
yeah,
I don't get it. Like you can't fuck it, man. Whatever. The world makes different shit makes the world go around. But yeah, if you want to call yourself black metal,
I
don't say
think
our thoughts and prayers are with you. What prayers?
I think
Pray the Lord.
what I'm probably gatekeeper light as well, in the fact that we're living in this fucking this day and age where social media is everything, and there's like 4 or 5 different main uh you know medias that gives some young musicians who were probably maybe they were yelled at 1 or 2 times
Mm-hmm.
by their parents, and all of a sudden they're fucking like depressive suicidal black metal guy, you know
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and like they probably come from respectable families and probably got money
Mm-hmm.
and all this and that, because
Oh, yeah.
they have all the fucking gear that they need to fucking like put out some decent riffs and whatnot and some good music. But they make they make the music solely about image and
Yeah.
catching all the fucking likes
Yep.
and the follows. And that to me is what really pisses me the fuck off.
Yep. I agree. I drive a fucking I drive a Hyundai Sonata, and I can't imagine being like putting out like super evil albums and like listening to it in my Rivian. You know what I mean? Driving around in a yeah. I know, but I know. I know a couple of those cats. Yeah,
Yeah.
people that have been part of really prominent satanic bands, and like their main cards like friggin' Alpha Romeo or whatever. It's like fuck, go away.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah,
Get the fuck out of here, man.
yeah, stupid. But it's their life, man. They
That's
want to be
it.
fucking. They want to pose. Go right ahead.
Go right out ahead. Whatever keeps them sleeping at night, I guess. Chad,
Yeah,
dude, I can go on for like 5 more hours with you, dude. This shit was like probably one of the my most fun I've had on a podcast in quite some time, man. Really,
thank man.
I respect you as a person, as a musician, and man, I can't wait to hear what you put out next.
Thanks.
And you've covered the gamut of everything that I had in mind uh while having you. So thank you.
Nice.
I really appreciate your time, man.
Absolutely, man. Totally down to do it again anytime. I could go on like this. This is very effortless. Like I like having these kind of non-regimented conversations.
Yeah.
My
I
daughter was my daughter was like, "You're going to be on an interview," and I'm like, "Well, I hope it's not really an interview. I hope it's more of a conversation."
yeah.
She's like, "You don't really like people asking you questions, do you?" I'm like, "No, I don't mind that. It's just she see me whenever I'm like trying to like email questions back. People that have sent me stuff in the past, and I'm just like, man, I can't do it this way. Like, I can't just sit around and like answer questions. I just want to like just talk. Like a conversation. Like this is a conversation to me.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
and it's informative. And it's great, great. So I appreciate
I,
you making this very effortless.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, man. Seriously, one thing that I always tell people either before they come on or like even during the episode, dude, I'm no fucking journalist.
Oh yeah.
I'm a fan first and foremost. One of my good friends, Bobby, he told me the other day because I really contemplating like just pulling the plug on this podcast a few times and like I leave it to this guy who set me straight and was like, dude, Mo, you come across as a fan first and foremost who represents the rest of us who want to ask the questions coming from a shy kid, and
Mhm.
you get the artist in front of you and you're able to just put them at ease and just and have a great conversation, and that's my aim every single time.
Hell yeah. Cool, man. Well, I really appreciate it. Totally down to do it anytime. So,
Fucking A.
yeah, man. Yeah, I appreciate you and total support to you and your channel.
Oh, thank you so much,
Uh,
man.
yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll definitely be in touch with you for sure. I got your email. and
Sounds good.
and maybe I'll even hit you up on you could follow my stuff on Instagram if you're on there or anything like that. Yeah, I heard you
I'll do
mention
it.
Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool, brother. Dude, it was a fucking pleasure. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. Thank you.